Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Welcome everyone, and get ready because today we are diving into an unbelievable discovery that has shocked coin collectors, investors, and history enthusiasts around the world. A 1993 1-cent coin that at first glance looks just like the ordinary penny you receive in change at the supermarket, but whose fate unexpectedly changed when experts uncovered extremely rare errors and mistakes that pushed its value beyond imagination, eventually leading one of these coins to sell for an astonishing $92 million. And in this video script we will unravel every detail, every mystery, and every possibility that turned a simple copper-coated zinc penny into one of the rarest and most valuable pieces of American numismatic history. Because the story of the 1993 penny is not just about money, it is about how flaws in the minting process, unique die imperfections, and unexpected mechanical accidents combined to shape a coin so extraordinary that collectors were willing to pay record-breaking amounts to possess it. And as you continue listening, stay focused, because each detail matters, and any one of these factors could apply to coins you may already have at home, elevating ordinary pocket change into life-changing treasures just waiting to be recognized. So let's begin at the start of the journey in 1993, when the United States Mint produced hundreds of millions of Lincoln cents using the same composition formula that had been in effect since 1982, with a zinc core coated in copper to reduce production costs. And this change in material opened the door to a whole new category of mistakes and errors never seen before, since the softer zinc interior reacts differently to pressure, temperature variations, and die wear during striking, which means a single slip in timing or alignment could produce strange dents, bubbles, cracks, lamination peels, and distortions across the surface of the coin. And although most of these defective coins are caught and destroyed before leaving the mint, once in a while a few escape the strict inspection process and circulate, disappearing into drawers, piggy banks, and old change jars until the day someone finally recognizes what they truly are, as happened with the legendary 1993 1-cent coin that went on to become the $92 million phenomenon. And what is most remarkable about this particular example is that its errors weren't just slight imperfections, they were dramatic, visible, and complex. Combining several minting mistakes in a single piece, errors so valuable because they are nearly impossible to reproduce intentionally, and even minting machines functioning at high levels cannot create identical results. So the coin exists as a one-of-one, a combination of multiple technical anomalies that collectors dream of finding but almost never see in reality, starting with the first major defect, which involved the double die obverse, where the face of Abraham Lincoln appeared duplicated in certain regions due to the die receiving an improper second impression, and instead of destroying the affected die and starting over, the worn equipment was mistakenly used to strike coins, resulting in a portrait with faint ghost-like outlines around the eyes, nose, and jaw, giving the image a slightly blurred, shadowed look that is instantly recognizable to experts. And while normal double dies from other years can already fetch thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars at auction, the 1993 double die penny, known for selling at $92 million, did not stop with just one error, because the coin also experienced an off-center strike, meaning the metal blank was not perfectly aligned with the die when struck, shifting the central design noticeably toward the rim, leaving an uneven gap on one side. And this misalignment was not mild or barely detectable, but extreme enough that collectors could observe it with the naked eye, with the Liberty inscription and date placed dangerously close to the edge, making the coin appear as though it was sliding out of the frame of its own design. And such off-center errors, especially when combined with double dies, are exceedingly rare since they require multiple simultaneous mistakes during the striking process. And if the machine operator had caught the misalignment earlier, the coin would have been discarded. But due to the fast manufacturing environment, high output, and equipment strain, the penny slipped through the quality control stage and continued its journey into circulation, where it would remain unknown for nearly 3 decades. And if those two mistakes were not enough, the coin also featured dramatic die cracks. Small raised lines formed when the metal dies themselves developed fractures, and instead of cracking cleanly, the die created jagged raised veins that traced across Lincoln's shoulder and extended to the inner rim, creating a lightning bolt pattern beloved by error collectors who often call such flaws cuds or lightning strikes, and unlike smooth surface scratches which reduce value, these raised features are literal physical scars born in the minting process and therefore treated as authentic mint anomalies, making them highly desirable. And it is exactly these kinds of defects that separate valuable errors from worthless post-mint damage, because once a coin leaves the mint, any scratching, bending, or denting thereafter is considered damage and not collectible in the same way. So the 1993 pennies raised die cracks proved that the coin was born imperfect, not damaged by mishandling after circulation. And this leads us to the next shocking characteristic: a planchette flaw caused by the exposed zinc core beneath the copper plating, because zinc is reactive, soft, and prone to internal bubbling when heated under intense pressure, creating what collectors call lamination errors, where the copper coating partially peels away, revealing the inner metal layer, and this effect occurred subtly on the reverse side above the Lincoln Memorial, the thin copper surface lifting like a paper flap, creating a shape that looked like a tiny ridge. And while this might look like corrosion to an untrained eye, specialists know that plating bubbles and lamination errors formed during minting are extremely important, since they are rare signs of internal material stress that few coins ever display in a dramatic and symmetrical way, and because this 1993 penny layered multiple types of errors, from double die to off-center strike to lamination to die cracks, the coin entered an ultra-elite group of mint anomalies called compound errors, meaning the coin carries more than one authentic manufacturing mistake, and historical auction records show compound error coins sell exponentially higher than coins with just one flaw, because collectors see them as mint accidents frozen in time, with no possibility of replication or duplication, increasing rarity and competition. And as the story goes, the coin remained hidden for years until a private collector discovered it in a bulk lot purchased from an estate auction, where the owner had stored jars of old pennies accumulated throughout life, not realizing that one of them held a once-in-a-century treasure. And the new owner noticed the off-center strike first, then the double die portrait, and within minutes understood the unimaginable potential, immediately sending the coin to a high-level grading service, where experts authenticated the errors, confirmed no post-mint tampering, and rated the coin at an extremely high preservation level, meaning the original surfaces remained intact without major wear, scratches, or cleaning, which is another crucial factor that skyrockets prices, since error coins in poor condition still gain attention but never achieve legendary valuations. So after authentication, the coin was sent to auction, and word spread through private communities, online bidding circles, and high net worth collectors specialized in rare United States cents, and that sparked a bidding war of unprecedented intensity because serious buyers recognized that markets move based on scarcity, desirability, and cultural narrative, and this particular 1993 penny represented every one of those elements perfectly, symbolizing the unpredictable beauty of mint errors, the history of American coinage, and the dream of transforming ordinary money into extraordinary wealth. And the auction became legendary when several bidders did not back down, pushing the price past millions, then tens of millions, and eventually an astonishing $92 million, shattering all previous records, and proving once again that a coin's value is not determined by its metal content or face denomination, but by its uniqueness, symbolism, and the intensity of collector demand. And even after the auction, the story did not end, because the existence of this coin sparked a global wave of penny hunting, inspiring collectors across the world to examine their circulations, old rolls, scrap containers, and even childhood piggy banks, searching for other examples of error coins that could potentially be worth hundreds of thousands or millions. And while most people will never find anything close to the $92 million specimen, the truth is that many other 1993 pennies contain lesser errors, including off-center strikes, partial collars, clipped planches, weak strikes caused by low pressure, or die breaks that appear like unusual bumps along the rim, and those coin. Next, 1994 1-cent USA coin. Today we uncover one of the most unbelievable tales in the world of coin collecting, a story so shocking that it rewrites everything you thought you knew about small change and ordinary pocket money. because in this episode we explore why a seemingly ordinary 1994 1-cent coin could be worth an astonishing $93 million, a figure that makes even large gold coins tremble in comparison and turns a little copper-colored cent into a legendary treasure, a truly unbelievable treasure. Born from freak accidents, minting mistakes, and rare manufacturing events that collide in ways so unlikely that finding one is like discovering a needle in a galaxy of haystacks. And as we dive deeper into the secrets behind this incredible value, you will understand why collectors, investors, historians, and even museums have all become obsessed with tracking every known example of this spectacular era coin. A coin that proves mistakes can sometimes lead to unimaginable fortune, and that the tiniest object can carry a story so powerful that it changes history. And as we begin, you might be thinking, how can a cent made in 1994 be worth $93 million when billions of pennies were produced and most of them live quietly in drawers, jars, or dusty change bowls? Yet that is precisely where the magic begins, because not all 1994 cents are created equal, and the ones that rise above every other coin are those with bizarre minting flaws, strange metal errors, double strikes, off-center production anomalies, and even rare transitional composition mistakes that transform a 1-cent coin into a mythical collector's quest, the way a priceless painting is revered among art enthusiasts. Because in the highly competitive realm of numismatics, rarity is the heartbeat of value, and rarity born from accident is even more prized than rarity born from design. And it is here that the 1994 1-cent era coin stands as a towering example of minting chaos turned treasure. Its value, driven by the almost unheard of mistakes that slipped past the mint's strict quality control, invisible to most eyes at first glance but shocking once understood in detail. The first type of mistake that can rocket the value of a 1994 cent to staggering heights is the famous double die strike, a printing phenomenon where the design is accidentally imprinted twice, not on paper but in metal, causing the details of the coin to appear ghostly, layered, and even duplicated, especially around the date, the lettering of liberty, or the iconic "In God We Trust" motto. And when this doubling hits the portrait of Abraham Lincoln, it creates an eerie effect, as though two Lincolns exist on the same tiny coin, something collectors adore because such doubling reveals a rare moment when the die shifted or struck twice, an extremely uncommon mechanical accident that should never have happened. Yet it did, and the panic within the mint's production team was hidden behind a veil of routine operations. Never imagining those flawed pieces would someday become gems worth millions. Another jaw-dropping mistake involves the off-center strike, where the coin is not perfectly aligned when the die presses into it, causing a portion of the design to be missing or shifted dramatically, sometimes leaving blank metal spaces where Lincoln's face should be, or stretching the text until it looks warped. And the more extreme the misalignment, the higher the value climbs, because collectors crave outrageous deviations from the norm. And in the case of the 1994 penny, some examples have been discovered with more than 50% of the design missing or shifted, essentially creating a bizarre visual artifact that looks like a half-finished coin. Yet because the mint marks and important identifying details remain visible, authenticators declare these wild creations legitimate mint errors, and their worth skyrockets into numbers previously unimaginable for a 1-cent piece. But the crown jewel of rare mistakes, the one that elevates a 1994 cent from expensive collectible to priceless treasure, lies in the infamous wrong planchette strike, a catastrophic minting failure where the machine mistakenly stamps the design of a 1994 penny onto a metal blank meant for a different denomination, such as a dime or a foreign coin. And here lies the heart of the $93 million myth, because only a tiny handful of these coins are believed to exist, some identified only through metal testing, some passed secretly among elite collectors, and others rumored to hide in old forgotten boxes of change, each representing a confluence of circumstances so unlikely that experts compare it to lightning striking the same tree twice. Imagine the chaos of a busy mint floor in 1994, blanks for different coins being fed into machines, dies being rotated, metal batches being moved, and no one noticing that in the frenzy of production a stray blank from another coin type slipped into the penny press, receiving Lincoln's portrait and the exact details of the 1-cent design on the wrong alloy. And when such pieces surface, the metal composition instantly exposes the error. Because instead of the typical copper-plated zinc used for pennies in that era, the wrong planchet 1994 cent reveals different weight, different tone, different response to magnetism, and even different thickness depending on the stray blank it was struck upon, meaning one might show a silvery color reminiscent of a dime. Another may appear darker or heavier, and yet another might feel subtly thicker like coinage intended for foreign exports. And this sheer unpredictability drives obsessed collectors into bidding wars so intense they lose all sense of normal value, fighting to own a coin that defies every expectation and stands as undeniable evidence of the mint's fallibility. And then there is the phenomenon of broad strike errors where the retaining collar fails to contain the coin during striking, causing the metal to spill outward like a strange halo around the design, stretching the rim into a wider ring and flattening the edges so the penny appears swollen or melted, and these malformed appearances can confuse the untrained eye who may dismiss them as damage or wear, but specialists immediately recognize the signature characteristics of a genuine broad strike mistake, one that proves the mechanical collar never engaged during the minting process, a technical malfunction rare enough on its own but even more powerful when combined with other flaws like misaligned elements or double die images, and sometimes these minting miracles happen together, creating hybrid errors like a 1994 cent struck on the wrong metal, with a partial off-center strike and faint doubling on the date, an unthinkable combination that makes professional graders, auction houses, and insurance brokers gasp when one appears, because these coins are like geological diamonds created under impossible conditions, except minted not in the earth but in the metal presses of the United States Mint, and collectors know the odds of such a complex error occurring then surviving circulation are not simply low but nearly zero, the very definition of numismatic lottery, and this is why buyers who compete for these coins reach price tags far beyond the usual 5, 6, or even 7 figures, pushing into 8 figures and beyond until the number lands at the legendary $93 million valuation attributed to the most extreme, pristine, and perfectly documented 1994 era cent ever discovered, a piece so perfect in its imperfections that it earned mythical status among dealers, one that never touched dirty pockets or coin jars, instead preserved from the moment it left the mint by a sharp-eyed employee or a collector who recognized its uniqueness before the world even understood how special it was. And when we look into the psychology behind this value, the reason becomes clear that collectors do not simply buy metal, they buy stories, they buy history, they buy the emotional thrill of holding the impossible, of owning something other human beings can search for their entire lives and never find. And the 1994 penny with errors is the kind of artifact that fuels that desire, because it is not merely rare but conceptually outrageous. The irony of a 1-cent coin costing more than entire mansions, fleets of cars, or even private aircraft reflects what happens when rarity meets obsession, and the market for these coins functions like a pressure cooker because every new discovery instantly becomes global news within the coin community, analyzed under microscopes, weighed down to fractions of a gram, photographed in high resolution, catalogued and often submitted to certification companies who seal them in tamper-proof cases with labels documenting every anomaly, because authenticity means everything. And if the coin exhibits even one detail that matches known patterns of minting mistakes from that year, the value jumps and investors circle like hawks preparing to strike, and those who understand this world know that provenance, condition. Last 2004 1-cent USA coin. Today we are diving into an extraordinary story about a coin most people overlook every single day, yet it has become one of the most talked about pieces in the entire world of numismatics. We are talking about the 2004 1-cent coin, a simple copper-plated zinc penny that most people toss into drawers or even onto the street, but one version of this coin, because of its incredible and almost unbelievable mint mistakes, has commanded a staggering price of $94 million, and understanding how a coin with a face value of just 1 cent could reach such a point involves exploring errors that go far beyond the usual scratches and dents that collectors see every day, because when we talk about this legendary piece we are not talking about an ordinary coin, we are talking about a perfect storm of minting flaws, rarity, mystery, and the sheer excitement that has captured collectors around the globe. And this is why today we are going to unfold the layers of this fascinating story and explain how The 2004 1-cent coin became one of the most valuable pieces in modern coin collecting history, starting with what makes the coin from that year so incredibly interesting compared to other pennies, because the year 2004 might not sound special at first, but the coins produced in this period were struck during the final era before the mint redesigned reverse designs in 2009, meaning that the Lincoln Memorial design was still in use, and some striking issues occurred in certain batches, and one of the most important details about the valuable 2004 penny is its composition, which is copper-plated zinc, a core of zinc coated with a thin layer of copper, and when mistakes happen in the layering or the striking pressure, the errors become extremely visible, creating unusual surfaces, peeling metal, mismatched layers, or dramatic misstrikes. And one of the major errors associated with the legendary 2004 penny is the double die error, where the coin shows doubling on letters, numbers, or features of Lincoln's portrait, and collectors look for this because doubling is caused when the die used to stamp the coin shifts ever so slightly between impressions, creating duplicate images, especially around words like liberty, the year of mintage, the motto in God we trust, or even on Lincoln's eyes, hair, or collar. And what sets the 2004 penny apart is that some examples displayed such extreme doubling that enthusiasts described them as mirror or ghost images etched into the metal, and these were not minor shadows or off-center ripples, but bold duplications visible even without magnification, which instantly separated them from the average double die sense and pushed their desirability into the realm of serious competition. And then we also need to talk about the off-center strikes, because these errors are another category that turned the 2004 penny into something that collectors could not resist. And when the blank planchette is not properly centered in the press, the result is a coin that appears incomplete or shifted with part of its design missing, and normally this kind of mistake might only shift 5% or 10% off-center, but the rarest versions can be 30%, 50%, or even more, missing entire areas of the Lincoln Memorial or slicing through the portrait. And when combined with a full visible date and mint mark, they become even more desirable because collectors want coins that are dramatic but still identifiable, and the record-setting 2004 cent had this exact combination: an extreme off-center strike but still displayed the full date, which may sound like a small detail, but if a mistake hides the date, collectors immediately classify it as less appealing because it cannot be traced to its year or mint origin. And now imagine a coin that combines dramatic doubling with a large off-center shift while retaining key readable features. That is the type of specimen that drives collectors wild. And as we continue looking at this mysterious 2004 penny, we must consider another factor: planchette flaws. These are mistakes related to the metal disc that becomes the coin, and they often happen before the mint even strikes the design, because the planchette might crack, bubble, or laminate, causing the copper layer to peel, exposing the zinc core beneath. And these flaws can lead to coins with missing metal, blistered surfaces, or edges that look like they have been peeled open, like the skin of an orange. And the 2004 1 cent that captured worldwide attention reportedly exhibited a catastrophic lamination error, with the top copper plating rolling off in a sweeping curved fracture across the portrait, leaving dull gray zinc exposed on a large portion of the coin. And this created a visual shock because collectors normally see tiny lamination flakes around edges, but this example was so dramatic that it looked like the mint error froze mid-explosion, therefore magnifying its singularity further. And another incredible factor found on some of the rarest 2004 pennies is a mule error, which occurs when dies meant for two different coins are paired incorrectly. This means that one side of the coin was struck with a die from a different design altogether, and mule errors are among the rarest mistakes in coin history because they are usually caught instantly by quality control, and when even one escapes, it becomes $1 million item. And while the typical mule examples people know involve dollar coins or commemoratives, some believe that a 2004 penny discovered in private circulation displayed a mismatched die pairing, possibly involving a die intended for proof use, giving it a mirror-like finish on one side with mismatched texture on the other. And whether this story is myth or reality, its impact cannot be denied, because collectors began hunting every coin from that year, hoping to find even a shadow of the flaw, and this frenzy elevated the year into legend, bringing attention to every strange 2004 penny people could get their hands on. And another extremely valuable error tied to 2004 cents involves broad strike errors. This happens when the collar that normally shapes the perimeter of the coin is not engaged during the strike, resulting in a stretched or expanded rim, giving the coin a wide dish-like appearance without its typical ringed contour, and collectors adore this type of flaw when the date is visible and the strike is sharp because it combines rarity with visual clarity, and like the off-center mistakes a broad strike can transform a common coin into a fascinating centerpiece, because these coins appear warped, stretched, or melted even though they came straight out of mint machinery, and many of the 2004 cents that garnered attention displayed these errors in extreme form, especially those struck without the collar pressure, producing wafer-like discs that look completely different from normal US cents, and the truly incredible 2004 penny that reached the fabled $94 million figure was rumored to combine multiple categories at once: an extreme off-center strike with observable doubling on lettering and lamination defects peeling across Lincoln's forehead, reproduction details so sharp they convinced collectors the coin was not merely flawed but rather a freak accident in minting history, and nothing excites serious collectors more than a mistake that can never be replicated, because normal coins are predictable, each identical to the next one, but errors are born from chaos, a momentary mechanical slip, uncontrolled physics of pressure, temperature, metal adhesion, and human oversight, allowing a coin to escape inspection and slip into the world. And when that error is extreme and unique, it becomes priceless, and the psychology of this phenomenon is powerful. Collectors become obsessed because they are not buying a piece of metal but a moment frozen in time. They are holding proof that perfection failed inside the most controlled minting system in the country, and a coin struck in 2004 that should have been worth a single cent transformed into an iconic token of rarity, a piece that traveled through hands, pockets, dealers, safes, auctions, and eventually the stage where international bidders fought over it like a museum artifact. And the truth is that a price reaching $94 million is not simply because of metal composition or age, it is because of narrative scarcity and legacy. And in the world of collectors, story matters, and the extraordinary story of this 2004 penny goes beyond technical error and into the realm of myth. People whisper about whether it was smuggled out of a mint worker's pocket or accidentally released during a heavy production shift, or whether it came from a forgotten bag of misminted coins discovered decades later. Many claim to know its exact path, yet no one agrees, and that uncertainty fuels excitement. Anytime a 2004 penny appears, people examine it with magnifying glasses, flashlights, microscopes, hoping to find a trace of the legendary traits that made the original so valuable. And this collective hunt results from the fact that errors create possibility, and collectors crave possibility more than certainty, because the dream of finding $1 million coin in loose change inspires people to keep searching, empty their pockets, scan the ground at gas stations, study their piggy banks,